We are back. I was gonna start off by asking you guys what you thought about this episode, but as it went on, and having finished the episode, I can say with confidence, and I'm going to guess for you guys, that we liked this one.
They got me back a little bit.
It got me back a little bit, yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, okay, I'm sorry I ever doubted you, but...
no, it didn't get me back that hard.
Exactly. It definitely piqued my interest. And like, I even turned to my sister, like when there would be something that I was like, okay, thank you. Then it was almost like anger. Like, why didn't we get this 2 episodes ago? Like, it was like, I wasn't satisfied with just it being like maybe a more solid episode. It was more of like frustration that I was, you know.
Yeah, there was that. And then also there were a couple of characters, specifically Quiet Anne, who I was like, how are you stupid all of a sudden?
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, no, that's a different talking point. For the first time this season, and it was almost instant for me, even the bit that it opened up with, the fantasy segment, I was like, oh, we're back. And I was like, I didn't think to look who the writer was. And I feel like if we were to sit down and look at who's writing what, that it would click.
Possibly, yeah, that'd be interesting to find out.
For the first time this season, I have a sense of stakes. Like, I understand what we're dealing with. And even if I don't know what exactly we're building to, for the first time, for me at least, I think Mac and Melba made sense.
Yes.
I mean, a little, but also I still had some of the same concerns. Like, I can't remember, there was a moment that made me feel the same way as before again, but I did enjoy the scenes with her, like, teaching Desna.
Yeah, I guess for me specifically, the thing that I responded to the most is I thought this episode was hysterical.
It was
from
funny.
beginning to end. I thought this episode was so funny. And I did still feel like we maybe were, like there was part of me that checked to make sure I didn't miss an episode. Because this storyline with Bryce's book, have we heard of this?
It was like, I felt like in the earlier episodes, it was him talking about wanting to have a purpose and maybe being a little bit jealous of Virginia being so naturally good at it. But then they dropped that. And then Uncle Daddy's still continuing it, but he's not doing it because his mother-in-law's, like there was like that, but never was there a mention of, and I want to turn this into a book. Or I want to turn this into something. It was just like, I wish I was as good as Virginia. So the book thing kind of felt like, oh, I guess he wants a book, but I didn't know that was something he wanted,
Well, the way that they were talking about it and the fact that I found the episode enjoyable, I was inclined to just sort of have faith. I was like, okay, maybe this is a dream that he's had since season 1, and I just sort of forgot.
Yeah.
But I guess to go back to what you were saying, Kristen, the thing about Quiet Anne, it's funny because while we were watching the episode, I was having a similar thought where it wasn't so much that I thought she was stupid, but I was like, the handful of times that we get glimpses into her, she's actually like way messier than we think she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, her name sort of is deceptive. I think she seems like stoic and sturdy, and in a lot of ways she is, but she's also kind of a basket case.
Well, I feel like that, I think that she is kind of personally messy. But she ruined a lot in this episode by being professionally messy.
I don't blame her for telling her brother, though, about this thing, because
I blame her only because she stuck her foot in it, and then instead of sticking to her guns and being like, I literally can't tell you what's going on, she apparently blabbed literally everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish it happened in more than one scene. Like, I wish her brother was back. I wish we saw him last week, and then I wish that it was mentioned this week, and then I wish it came out.
It happened next week, sure.
Because it really just felt like, oh yeah, remember that character that I forgot about? Well, he's back, and also it's a major plot point, and also we'll never hear from him again, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it was kind of a lot. And I'm also super, super, super bummed because I have a note written down where I was like, this is honestly the most I've ever liked Arlene.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm literally furious. Like, bitch, you made me care about this person. Like so hard. Like I was all in on Arlene, and when she was like, I can make this all go away for you, I was like, cool, now we've got a dirty cop on our side. That's actually going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
And then they just up and slit her throat.
That I actually was shocked by that. I was not expecting that.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was going to end up being another fantasy sequence.
I also am very curious if either of you two are getting the vibe that a major character is going to die. Because, like, I just keep feeling like one of the core group, something is going to happen to them this season.
I don't think it'll be any of the girls, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were Roller or Dean.
I was about to say, are you including the boys in this?
Okay, I'm sorry, and I know this is a major turnaround. If it's Roller, I will set a fire. I will be so pissed if it's Roller. I definitely could see that just because he's kind of taking a back seat a bit these past few episodes, so I could see them maybe, but like. If they kill him off, I'm gonna be so upset.
I can't believe
honestly,
the way
that all of my shows are going this year, it's gonna be Polly or Jen.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Everything I just said about Roller applies to Jen as well. If it's Jen,
no, I know. I'm just saying, given my favorite shows and how many of them have ended their seasons this year, I am not confident in any showrunner currently like making a show.
No, I think it's so funny that like the Husser boys are like the tried and true, like Roller and Bryce. Like, I don't think it's going to be Roller because they threatened us with killing him twice already, and
it's true. Third time's a charm, though.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's a reality where it could happen, but I'm not there. I'm inclined to say it could be Dean.
Yeah,
but they're shining a big light on him at the moment. So it depends because there's a fair amount when you're watching a show like this and a twisty turny drama. There's a fair amount of like strategy of like trying to surprise an audience, and so a lot of times with shows like this, and it's in particular at this point in the game, I'm trying to figure out. It's like a game of chess with the production team, with the showrunners and stuff, and so the Dean thing. It's not that I want to say that he's lived out his purpose as a character, but there is a point where I'm like, what is this relationship between him and Desna? Because they introduced a couple of elements that I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, but it like, when she told that story about starting the fire so that he couldn't get adopted.
Why did she tell that story to him?
Well,
why did she do that?
Yeah.
Well, that as well. Yes.
It's the first time that I thought, oh, is this relationship codependent on her part as well? Like, does
for
he
sure.
give her
It for sure is. There's a lot of things going on with her in this relationship. It is a little codependent, but it's also like and I don't know how far they'll go with this or if it's just something I'm reading into it, but there's a little bit of one of those ugly kind of, if I have you, you're my excuse for things. I can't do this because I have to take care of Dean. I can't do that because I have to take care of Dean. And so, I can't be in this relationship with Roller. I can't move out of whatever. I can't do this. I'm worried about Dean. And so it's like, in my opinion, part of what's going on now, where like Desna is still sort of like walking the razor's edge of whether or not she can go like full crime lord. And if because she's worried about Dean, well, get rid of Dean, she has no leg to stand on then, and she can go full Dark No Stars.
Where it's like, this is definitely an ensemble piece. It is about Desna, and it's the kind of thing where it's like removing Dean would challenge Desna in a way that we haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah, I think earlier episodes, I was kind of like, are they about to kill Dean off? Because this whole storyline has felt a little bit awkward with him and Mac and Melba and all that stuff. I feel like they kind of pulled it together with this episode based off of partially what you guys were just talking about. But also, I think they revealed, like, Mac and Melba finally revealed, like, oh, we want him to win the tournament so we could take his money. And it was like, which is like one of those things where I think we were talking about this earlier, where we're like, what do they want from him? Really? They just want to adopt him? He just likes collecting people? That's weird, right? Like, I guess that's a motive, but whatever. And then finally, it's like, oh, okay, this was the plan all along. Maybe he does like collecting people as well, but they also want to take his money. That's like, the main thing. And even though that felt like, okay, great, that's kind of what I thought, I was still a little bit frustrated with that because it's like, why did it take so long for us to learn this? I assumed that that's what they were trying to do. Like, why did you wait to tell me until now? It just was a little bit frustrating. But regarding Dean and like where he may end up, I think you two may be right about possibly it might show that like Desna will have to cope in different ways if Dean isn't there. So maybe they will kill him off. Like that, like I could see that happening as well. I definitely like this episode more because I felt like as frustrating as Dean has been, this was a little less for me because things were starting to get answered a bit. Like the Mac and Melba thing and then Desna's thing showing that maybe she is a little too controlling with Dean, even though he has a problem, you know?
Yeah, and like what I was saying with the like stakes, understanding the stakes of the show, it's like I still am not quite sure what end we're heading to, but this was the first time in like 3 or 4 weeks where I was aware that we were making progress. You know, it's like a long road trip. I was at least able to differentiate that we were not, you know, where we were a while ago, and that felt good. And I mean, I do think a large part of that was the humor, but I guess it couldn't be just that though. It does feel like even some of the side characters, like even the tertiary characters, had some form of accomplishment, like the stuff with Uncle Daddy and Brenda and Toby, you know.
Okay, so is Toby about to kill some people too? Like,
I mean,
I would
guess.
imagine.
right? Like, Toby's been gone for a second. I almost forgot he was the one who tried to shoot
Desna.
Who tried to shoot Desna but shot Virginia. So I almost forgot about that until he came storming back in. I was like, uh-oh. And then the whole drug element when he's like back into taking the like pharmaceutical drugs and stuff. I was like, okay, so is Toby going to do his own thing without Uncle Daddy? And then he's going to be like I'm interested in that a bit, but I'm also like, Toby's a wild card. And I don't know what's, they're just like, Toby could do anything.
Plus, he only took 1 bottle of pills. It's not going to get him that far.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially now that Dr. Ken is doing his own, like, illicit drug deals and stuff.
Yeah.
I did just love, there were so many one-liners and stuff, because specifically with this plot, there was the information in the line, Jawanda was a queen.
Yeah.
And so, because I loved Dale Dickey, Sade, and she played Jawanda in the first season.
I'm trying to remember that character. I don't think I remember.
Uncle Daddy's wife.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that was her name. Yeah. Yeah, that was a wild relationship as well.
she has a career of playing kind of characters like that.
Okay.
She's in things here and there, but I was so upset to lose her in season 1. And so and she's actually popped back up a time or two, and I appreciate that. But we got that sense that like, in a weird way, because the show is strangely about family in a way that like Jawanda and Uncle Daddy selected Toby to be their princess.
that was an interesting thing that they went into for like 5 seconds, but the fact that Toby, he's like, the reason why I'm upset is because you just did this behind my back before I was chosen by both of you. It was like an agreement. You're not even talking to me about that, which I was like, oh, that's an interesting dynamic into how he views the relationship. But yeah, this whole thing with Uncle Daddy, I've just been like not that interested in the rehab center or his relationship with Jen's mom. Like, I don't really care about it.
Well, I feel like we're building to something with it because they're making sure that we know it's happening.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to factor in maybe with the money laundering and stuff, because I actually did like how they explained how the casino was money laundering.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it made sense to me. And then on top of that, they were helping the community.
Yeah, the teacher who's like, I do all this for school supplies. And I was like, wow, okay.
I'm sure only some of that is for school supplies.
Yeah.
I've had a love-hate relationship with Mac and Melba, and this was them working right. Like, I like them having, to me, there's something so funny about life and death stakes partnered with mundane workplace situations and like them having to work with Desna has been really funny. I still think I didn't get her name, but the actress playing Melba is doing the most when she just like hissed into the phone and everything. Like she's giving Laura Dern like some.
Yeah, I like everything she's doing, even though it's a lot. I do like what she's doing. I'm not the hugest fan of the Mac character. But I like Melba, and I liked when she was just like, oh, Desna, you're asking me for help? Let me just lean back and enjoy. Like, the fact that she was just doing so much, I loved that. That was really fun to watch.
And I also have to point out Jen's shirt. Did you guys see the shirt?
Apparently.
What did that one say?
Something.
I don't give a IDGAF about your diet, Susan.
Oh, yes, I did. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was really funny. My sister was like, oh my gosh, is she wearing that shirt? And I was like, wait, what? And apparently it's like a really popular shirt online that like whatever. I didn't know about it, but I thought it was really cute. Can we talk about EJ?
What?
Yeah.
The date at the Tomato Oasis.
Is that what it was called? Holy shit!
I
Apparently, Palmetto is down the street from Riverdale, but
and Jen called it fancy Italian.
She's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing fancy." Like, I was just like, "Wow!" Oh, I just loved, and then the fact that she ate the breadsticks immediately after he just said she loved the breadsticks.
Not even her own breadsticks.
Yeah, she's just like, "Ooh," yeah. The thing that, first off, we knew that it was going to be a white nationalist, like white supremacist thing, right? Like that they were going to be.
Oh, I didn't.
Okay, maybe it's just
maybe that's my white privilege speaking, but I did not see that coming.
Truly, the moment they met the man, my sister and I looked at each other like, oh, he doesn't realize that this book spoke to white supremacists, and he's going.
In retrospect, looking at that man's haircut, I should have guessed, but I did not initially until the one guy started talking about the quote unquote master race, and then I was like, "Oh, Bryce!"
Yeah,
I was like, "This is
knew
bad news."
Instantly. And then when Virginia,
I was gonna say, what were the tells? What was it? Just the haircut?
It was like the coded language that he was speaking to them without actually saying anything. That maybe, maybe I just have my guard up. I don't know. But like,
no. I think you're right. I need to go back and watch that scene. Right. I feel so embarrassed.
I feel like I need to watch the beginning again.
Yeah, I just was like, uh-oh. and then they confirmed it, and I was like, okay, yeah, we were on the right track. So when Virginia and EJ walked in, I was like, guys, leave. Like, I was so scared. I was like, don't be here. But yeah, the thing that I wanted to talk about regarding all of that is EJ. So I did not think... I've been confused about his character the entire time. They started
me too.
Yeah, they started with us thinking that maybe it's going to be like a custody battle thing. And I thought it was handled, again, we've talked about it already, handled very well how she was discussing, her child's race and the fact that her child doesn't have anyone who's Black in her life regularly, at least a family member. So it's like, okay, that's great. But then they kind of just quickly resolved that. And then it was, okay, EJ's trying to date Virginia and he's just bumping into her by accident and maybe he doesn't really know, but it's like, how does he not know? It seemed like intentional, like he's trying to purposely date someone connected to Jen.
Yeah.
And then it was like, Jen, this episode I was like, wow, she's like completely cool with it, giving Virginia like wardrobe advice, making fun of the fact that they're going to have sex anyway. Like she seems totally cool with it. Which again was like, wow, all happening so quickly. And then finally with EJ, it's like, okay, so is this all so he can get with Jen? Is that the point of his character coming back?
It seems that way now, but it didn't seem that way when it started. So I don't know if they decided this in between or what. But it really he seemed a lot more sinister. At the beginning, like he was infiltrating Virginia in order to like get the scoop on how Jen was like a bad mom or something. And now it's just like, he still loves her and wants to be with her again. And it's like, we know that is almost definitely not going to happen. How does he not see that?
And are either of you two missing Virginia's like eye wisdom stuff?
Yeah,
I think it's there.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say, I think it's there because she was suspicious of him at the Tomato Oasis.
That's
Well,
true.
I don't know that she was suspicious, but I think that anybody with eyeballs can tell that he's still hung up on Jen.
Well, because he kept bringing up Jen, so it was like you didn't need your like special eye to see that.
Yeah, no, everybody with regular non-gypsy eyeballs can like tell that.
Yeah, I wish that was popping up a little bit more. So like, I mean, overall, I'm not trying to be nitpicky about this episode because I did enjoy it way more than the previous episodes recently. But there are some things story-wise where I'm like, okay, I didn't see this happening, and I don't think I saw it for the lack of like not paying attention. I think they just didn't. I think they just like, okay, in this episode, he loves Jen, and he wants to be back with her, and it's like, oh, okay, that's odd, but whatever.
Yeah, I think we still have Virginia's eye. I think they're just being selective with it. And if I had to pick, I do think I would prefer them underutilizing it versus overutilizing it.
That's true.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's true. I guess I'm getting a little crazy because I was like, wait, why isn't her eye power working?
She just starts shooting lasers, So. I think that's good for me. I mean, there was more. Roller was great. He came in and revamped the nightclub.
I love Roller. Yeah, he was doing great.
We got Polly's boys back.
Yeah, he has a club named Rollers, of course.
I do also. Yeah, I love Polly's dance instructor voice.
Oh yeah.
It's my favorite.
I love how crazy Polly is and that she wears it like a badge of honor. That you just, and even this thing with her and Joe, I think is really great because it's like, you can just never, because it's like, I feel like 2 out of every 10 of her stories is true.
Yeah. Possibly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every so often I think I'm like, that really happened.
Well, the thing I like so much about her and Joe is that it's actually like paying dividends.
Yeah.
And like, even though I still can't really trust him, I feel like we are getting more insight into him and his relationship with Mac and Melba and like his relationship with Polly. So that stuff is all super interesting to me.
And we did finally, because I have a note, at the right before, like 5 minutes before the episode was over, right after my I really like Arlene note, I have a note where I was like, we still haven't met the professor, right?
Hey.
I was like, that's still a factor. And then those 2 notes riddled themselves out. So.
Yeah, there he was.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I guess we will check back in next week. Hopefully this is a bell curve. Hopefully this continues, or an inverse.
An upside down bell curve.
Yeah, there you go.
I think we're on a good track. I think maybe these last few episodes were just a little bit of a dud, and now they're back on track.
And I'm even hoping that maybe in hindsight we'll be like, oh, that's why they were fucking in the park in skunk costumes. Like,
sure,
I'm kind of hoping that some of it will suddenly be justified.
I hope that specifically comes back. Yeah.
That specifically needs to pay off only.
So, okay, cool. Well, we'll check back in next week.
All right.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye.